Hi, everyone. Uh, Welcome to the webinar 28. My name is Vinay. I'm a volunteer for North-South in the workshops team, and I'm a volunteer for the Princeton chapter. So today we have Priyanka Raut, who would be giving a webinar on understanding and supporting your children as they explore their interests. Priyanka is a volunteer for North-South, and she is a career counselor at University of Houston. She has 10 years of career counseling experience in higher education, and she helps college students and alumni by reviewing resumes, discussing internship and job search strategies, conducting mock interviews, guiding the graduate school application process, and resolving any other career-related questions or concerns. She holds graduate degrees in clinical psychology from the University of Pune, India, and counseling psychology from the University of Kansas. She is interested in educating first-generation immigration parents about the career development process in the US and has recently launched a private practice for career counseling called Career Counseling Services. Welcome, Priyanka.
Hello, everyone. My name is Priyanka Raut, and I want to thank NSF for giving me this opportunity to use their platform to share some of my knowledge and experiences to help my community. And I also appreciate all of you for joining us today. So I just want to start by sharing a little bit about my background experience. I was born and raised in India, and then I moved to the US to pursue my graduate degree in counseling psychology. I worked at a couple of state institutions, University of Florida, and then majority of my work experience has been at University of Houston, working with college students, so from freshmen all the way to doctoral students, helping them navigate their career planning process because, you know, even when they're in college, they're still exploring. And so being a parent myself and a first generation immigrant parent, I really thought that I could tie in all of my life experiences and my professional experience to help my community. So my effort today comes from there is to educate parents about how career development works in the US and how we as college career counselors and even the academic advisors work with students to help them navigate uncertainties regarding their major or their career path. So my hope is that once you understand that process, then you might be in a better position to understand how you can support your child so that your child is getting the same kind of support from their school as well as from you. And I'll be sharing some helpful resources as well. So I'll get started. So today I'm hoping to debunk certain career myths that people have, talk about the career decision-making model, how students can research or how you can support them to research different occupations and majors, why getting experience is important, the skills employers value or employers are looking for when they're hiring, and then some final takeaway messages for the parents. Okay, and you know, I thought of doing this as a quiz, but then I thought I'll just go right into it. So one of the most common myths that is out there is most college students should know or know their major and career goals when they enter college. So for many parents, they think, yes, you need to know exactly what you want to do. And that's absolutely correct because you don't want to be wasting your money as your child is taking different classes, trying to explore what they want to do. However, our research shows that at least 50% of college students change their major or their career focuses once or twice when they are in college. And why does this happen is number one reason, our decision making or our idea of what I like, what am I interested in, what do I want to pursue, becomes clearer around the age of 25. So think about a 17 or an 18-year-old trying to make this decision, where so much money is at stake. And so that puts a lot of pressure on them. And also, when students go into college, they get exposure to so many different other majors, classes. When they're involved on campus, they get so much more information, which actually is kind of helping them refine what they want to do. And so this is very typical that we see that students change their major at least once or twice. The second thing is my major is going to lead to my career. So our workplace is changing, our world is innovating every day. And so gone are the days when, a student started a major and pursued that and then stayed in one job related to it for the rest of their life. Organizations, are starting to place more and more emphasis, especially here in the US, on the students' experiences and their job-specific skills or even their people skills. And so it's not necessary that if you are majoring in, even if it's a specific technology major, that you will end up in a career that's related exactly to your major. This is, of course, not true for certain very tailored majors, like let's say you're on a pre-med or a pre-law track, like the professional schools. But I've also seen through my experience that students who are on a pre-med track will start as pre-med and then they come across, like, let's say organic chemistry or calculus class, and they say, this is so hard, I cannot see myself doing this. And that's when that can be their changing point. Or sometimes they realize, oh, if I want to work in the medical field, there are other options than just being a doctor or a nurse. And so this can also happen as they're kind of along their college journey. There is also a myth out there that there is one perfect job for me. And again, that is not true, because interests change over time, and so is our workplace. We also need to think that we are preparing our kids for a job market that we don't even know what it's going to look like. There will be jobs that right now we're not even aware of what it's going to look like. And so it's very important to have a skill set that is what we call as a T skill set. So like the figure T, where you have what we call as transferable skills, or skills that can be transferred from one job to the other. These mainly are like problem solving skills, ability to work on a team, ability to communicate your idea or your concept to a group. So this is what the T part is. And then this line here is what is the job specific skills. So if they are in technology or if they are in engineering, then they will have these specific job skills. Also, I will have only one career in my lifetime. That is not true, again, because most people undergo several career changes throughout the course of their working lives. And so we really want students to find something that interests them, because if you think about your own personal career path, you may be in jobs that you love and you just can't wait to do your work. Or you may be in jobs where you feel like, oh, it's giving me good money, I don't care if I like it or not. Or you may be in jobs which are not very stable and you continuously have to kind of keep looking for other options. So either way, our life situations or even our personal life changes, the economy, the job market can affect our career paths. So if a person is on a career path that they're really passionate about, it's a lot of problems are easy for them to navigate, because now they, first of all, they have that internal drive to pursue what they want. So it's not based on, oh, who is hiring right now and who is not, but it's more based on, I know exactly whom to talk to and whom to approach regarding this job that I want. And so these are just a few career myths that a lot of students and even parents may have. And so remember that we are in US, where things are very different than what it is in India. In India, career decision making is a family process, whereas in the US, career decision making is an individual process. So we as parents can try to find that balance where we're really trying to listen to our child. We're really trying to be quiet, sit back, and understand what their interests are. And then in the following slides, I'm going to share information on how you can guide them to explore those interests. But let's actually move on to the next slide to maybe understand the decision-making model here in the US. So if your child ends up going to a career counselor, or you end up going to your high school counselor, this is the model that a lot of education people in the education field are going to use. So it starts with understanding your interests, what you like, what you don't like. Then from there, it kind of goes to your personality. So understanding what is my preferred way, what is my where do I feel comfortable being myself. And then it moves on to your values. So what things are important to you? Like, we'll see some more examples, but your location where you work, the salary that you get. And then finally, moving on to the skills or the experience. So the more you expose your child to different opportunities, the more they're going to learn from there. And by, when I say exposed to different opportunities, means opportunities that they think they're interested in trying out. So let's talk a little bit about the interest piece. Majority of people who help in career exploration refer to a model that was, or a theory that was created by John Holland. And what that theory does, it conceptualizes people and their interests into 6 different environments that you can see here on the screen. Artistic, social, enterprising, confidential, or it's also called as confidential, we'll stick with that, realistic and investigative. And so as you can see, the words that describe these interests, right? So really kind of trying to look at themes and patterns that you see for your child through high school, or even like elementary and middle, right? Are you somebody who likes, who's expressive, who's creative? We just try to say, oh, art, no, let's put art on the side because that's just a hobby. That is not true. Here in the US, there are so many occupations where your creative side can come out in different ways. One example can be thinking outside the box. So people who are creative always come up with different innovative type of ideas. Or people who are creative have a very good like a visual, or like a big picture people, as we call them. So don't think that the artistic interest only comes in play when it's the drawing or the dancing or something like that. The social part is where, if you see where your child is always wanting to help people, or they want to go into a helping profession, you can see they're always empathetic. They have good communication skills. Students tell me I'm always that person whom my friends go and talk to all the time. So with this in mind, think about, try to share try to have your child share more of what they like and what they're interested in with you. And you can use these examples if it's enterprising. um, is your child somebody who always says, hey mom, can I have my own lemonade stand? Or can we, I'm thinking of developing my own app and marketing it. So this is a combination of different skill sets. And really, instead of not kind of, shutting the kid down, try to explore more into that. Try to listen more. The other one, which is the confidential, is like the structured or the organized. And that's where, people who like to document things, who like to um, organize things. So you'll find a lot of people with this degree in planning and development and things like that. Then we have people who are realistic, so they are more hands-on. And so, there are people who you may find like to do more of the building and or the detailed work. And so realistic, we usually say like they work in construction, in the military, and areas like that. And then investigative is those who are more like into science, who are curious, who like to problem solve. And so this is just a quick overview. Obviously, I'm not going to go much into detail, but try to kind of think as you're exploring, what area would my child have may kind of align with. Now, obviously, we're not going to force them to fit in a certain direction, but you can just have your child take a look at this and say, hey, where do you think you would fall in this? So after interests, we look at personality. So personality is something that the basic foundation of your personality is laid between birth to age 8. And so these that you can see here, E, I, S, N, T, F, J, P, these are all along a continuum. So which means on one end you have E and one end you have I, and people can fall anywhere in between. A lot of you may have taken these assessments as part of your work. And this is really to help understand our kids, who they are and what they feel comfortable with. So for example, when we look at introverts and extroverts, we always think, oh, these are people who like to talk, extroverts, and introverts are people who don't like to talk. But that's not what it really means. Introversion and extroversion means, where do you draw your energy from? How do you feel energized? So for example, extroverts feel energized when they're around other people, and they can keep going because that's helping them get their energy. Introverts, on the other hand, are they like to hang out with people, but then they need their own time and space to rejuvenate, to re-energize, recharge themselves. And many times you'll see both parents can be like two different things. And then if you have two kids, one kid takes after each parent. So try to kind of, understand the child's personality. Also, we talk about sensors and intuitive. So people who like to focus on details. If I show you a picture of something, are you somebody who's going to look at the details of that picture? Or are you somebody who's going to tell me overall what it looks like? So, and then we have the thinkers and the feelers. So people who like to make decisions based on logic, analysis, um, consistency, fairness, whereas feelers are people who tend to be more sensitive and tend to take decisions based on more, how they feel. And so there is no right or wrong, whether it's in terms of your interest, personality, or values. We all are who we are, right? And so definitely want to point that out here. And then the judges versus the perceivers. So is your child someone who likes to do things on the go, who's very flexible? Or is your child somebody who likes to have things organized and planned ahead of time? What is their comfort zone, as we call it, or what is their preferred way of doing something? So these things may seem very simple and, even shallow, but it's actually not, because when we're trying to sit down and listen to our child, really understand their interest, personality, they feel valued as well. They feel like, oh wow, this is so awesome, right? That I'm sitting down with my parent and I'm trying to see, look at my interests, my personality, and then, eventually we look at what majors and careers align with, your child's interests, personality, and values. Finally, the values. So values are things that are important to you, things that matter to you. So when we look at work values, it comes to like family. Do I want to stay where my family is? Do I want to, how important is money for me? Do I want to travel as part of my job? Do I want a job that has a quick growth path, right? All these things are also important because your values is going to help you narrow down your options even further. Now, interest, personalities, and values together is going to help us look at, let's say there are 10 things a child might be interested in, or a child has no clue what they're interested in. We always start with this self-assessment piece, because self-assessment is the core, it's the foundation. And then from there, we're going to start blooming out into looking at majors and careers and jobs and so on. Self-assessment, when we work with seniors or even students who are trying to find jobs, when we're preparing them for interviews, we tell them this is important because a recruiter is going to ask you, why do you want this job? Or why do you think this job is a good fit with your skill set? Or tell us, what do you have to offer? What do you bring to the table? Why should we hire you? A lot of the answers for that comes from this self-assessment piece. So kind of narrating how your interests and your values align with the experiences and the education you have, and how that further connects with the job that you're interviewing for. So
Priyanka?
this, what I just shared with you, is a core, it's like the basis of career decision making, or even choosing what to major in.
Priyanka, there's a couple of questions. If you
Okay,
can
sure.
someone have more than one personality types? Surya is asking.
Sure, people can have, I'm sorry, I need to maybe talk a little bit about this. So what we see here, the E, I, S, N, T, F, and JP, a person will be, if you see, look at each column by itself, a person will have one of them. So it can be ESTJ or ENFP, ISTJ. So just different combinations, right, of that. So you are looking at 4 alphabets over here together to create one personality. So I'm sorry, I was not clear about that earlier, but a combination of these, any 4 letters, is what makes up a person's personality. Now, this model has been based on what we call as Myers-Briggs type indicator. This is a very, was developed by a mother-daughter pair actually, and this is close to 100 years old or even older than that.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
there's one more question. How early can we start self-assessment for a child? Elementary, middle, high school?
I would say middle school is a good time. And also because, elementary is a time where would suggest, let really kids follow their passions, because this is the time for them to explore different things. Elementary is a time when kids will say, oh, today I like art, tomorrow I like sports, then the next day I like something else, and that's very normal. So let them follow that path. But middle school is where you can slowly start seeing like the, I would say 8th or 9th grade is when you can start seeing these patterns. Also remember that our personality, when it comes to this, as I mentioned, from 0 to age 8 is when the basics of this is like the foundation is created. But then as you grow older, as you get more and more experiences, you start becoming more self-aware. So if I am thrown into a group and I realize, oh my God, this is so tiring, I can't be doing this every day of my life. That's a realization where I realize, oh yeah, you know what? I think I'm an introvert. I'm good to be around people for 5 hours, but then I need my own time to focus and work and re-energize. So awareness of personality comes with age. And so, as I said, until they're 25 years of age, nothing is going, you're not going to get an answer like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. But you need to keep kind of working with them to see, hey, so it feels like you like things when they're more organized as compared to just, you know, when things come up to you and you're not well prepared. So start getting a feel for that, and start this exploration process, I would say, from like middle school, but definitely in high school for sure. That's when you want to sit down and kind of say, okay, let's see where your interests are, what's your personality and, you know, your values, and let's try to look at majors related to these. And
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Priyanka. Go
Mm-hmm.
ahead.
Okay. Okay, so now from here, with this information, we're going to move to finding matching occupations and majors. And so I have a few resources here that are kind of free and everybody can use them. The first one is called as My Next Move. And I'm gonna just go ahead and open it up real quick here. So if you just go to Google and type My Next Move, this is created by ONET. So it is, as you can see, it's sponsored by the US Department of Labor. And this is like a quick interest assessment, right? That students can start. So if you can see here, tell us what you like. So they can start that assessment. Always remember, no assessment is like magic, right? It's not just going to magically come up with stuff. It is based on how the child answers the questions, which means here, very important, as parents, we may want to sit there next to them and watch them take the assessment. But I would say let the child take it whenever they want to and when they're by themselves. When they do that, you know, also tell them there is no pressure on you to select certain answers. Pick what you really are interested in. Be honest to yourself. Only then the answers are going to reflect your true interest. So no matter which assessment they take, as I said, there is no right or wrong answer. This is not a quiz. So let them take the assessment when they are by themselves. And so this My Next Move is a great place. This is also where you can search careers with keywords. So you can type in what your keyword is, or careers based on industry. So where does your child want to work? Now, remember, you know, government jobs are a great opportunity, especially when you have your child with children who are interested in liberal arts and social sciences majors, right? Or education fields. So many times these are some very underutilized or ignored types of fields, but these are great occupations where you have a great pay, job stability, job security. And we also have a lot of government agencies who come on campus to recruit students. So it can be from the Department of State, where students will go and work in different countries representing America. We have people from FBI and CBI, the C, what is it? Can't forget the name. FBI and different other,
CIA.
like, I'm sorry?
CIA.
CIA, yes, thank you. FBI, CIA. So these are opportunities that are available to students. And so, we need to be more open to exploring those options. Let's say here, I just type science. I'm just gonna type a broad search. So you can see the list of different occupations that come up. So data science, as we know, is a growing field. Medical scientists, atmospheric space scientists. So when you see the sun next to it, it means it's a growing occupation. Okay, so what we see here. So let's say I want to learn something about forensic science technicians. I'm going to click on that. It's going to show me a video I can watch, what people do, the knowledge that is needed, what skills are needed, basic abilities, and we can't take these skills and abilities for granted, okay? We need to make sure our students are able to articulate these well in their interviews as well. Their personality type, what technology students might be using, what education is needed, and then the salary, which is like the national average, but you can also look up based on where you live. And then there are helpful resources or links to explore more. So this is a very fun tool, even for kids to research by themselves, and even for you. If you think your child mentioned something, you can go up here, look it up, and say, hey, look, I found this information if you want to take a look at it. So this is a great resource to use. The other one that I have identified on there is called as the Occupational Outlook Handbook, and it has been developed by the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. So all these resources are reliable because they have been created by the government, okay, and they are constantly updated. So as you can see on this website as well, you can search occupations based on the different groups. You can search based on how much training is needed, what is the entry-level education, if you are looking at a certain pay, or if you're looking at growth rate, right? What's the projected growth rate? So this is also a great website for you to research occupations, okay? If I look at, let's say, industrial designers, it's going to show me information about what do industrial designers do. And then right here, you can see what they do, what types of work environments they work in, how to become one, what's the pay scale like, and then you can also see statewide data and so on. So this is a great tool for you to kind of work with your students. Now, let's say you're kind of contemplating what major to pick when they're in college, right? So when you Google, what can I do with this major? Or you can use this website, what can I do with this major.com, click on view all majors. So we use this website a lot, and I know a lot of people in higher education use it as well. Let's click on. Okay, I'm just gonna click on business. So this website sometimes, yeah, some of the content is free and some is not, but if you type, what can I do with this major? And then it may take you to, like, let's say the first link may take you to UC Berkeley website, but then you can go ahead and click on, let's say I'm looking at advertising. It's going to take you to that website and it's going to show you information about, like, let's say what area do advertisers work in, what types of employers hire people, what are some strategies you can be working on as you pursue that major, what are some areas you can be working in again, and then at the bottom it has some general information and then helpful resources. So professional associations are a great way to help students kind of look more closer into that field. And then we have Occupational Outlook Handbook and then job opportunities. Once you're connected to this page, that's when you can click on View All Majors. And then it'll show you a list of all different types of majors here. And you can click through whatever you're looking at and kind of explore it further using the resources. So I'm going to go back to my presentation. So these three are some really helpful resources. And then once we do the self-assessment, now we're looking at, majors and occupations. Then it's time to kind of help you, you need to take that step and be a little bit more involved to help your high school or college going kid to get more involved in job shadowing opportunities. So job shadowing is what we call as a part of our experiential learning process, where they're actually following and observing a professional for a short period of time. So if your child expressed interest in, let's say, I want to be a forest ranger, use your contact, use your networks to to get in touch with a forest ranger. Or you can simply go to a state park, and if you see a forest ranger, you can talk to them and say, my child is interested in this occupation. Is there a way they can observe you for a few hours, or do maybe an informational interview? So that's the next part, which is you are pretty much scheduling a meeting with someone. You have a list of questions to ask them. Like, for example, what does a typical day look like in your work week? What are some of the challenges that you face in your job? What are some parts of your job that you enjoy? How, what education is needed in order to pursue a career like this? So job shadowing and informational interviews are really, really strong and impactful ways to help you and your child get more information about a particular occupation. And then, obviously getting experience. So taking, having internships or part-time jobs. This is not specifically for college age students only. If you Google, there are internships for middle schoolers. There are summer, and obviously these are summer internships. But if your child is interested in looking at something or exploring an area, support them by finding these internship opportunities for them or programs where they can go and get more exposure to that area. And obviously, the more information you have, it helps you with your decision-making process and narrowing down your options. Also, being involved in extracurricular activities is equally important, not just for college applications, but for actually getting that experience. And even when you are writing your personal statements or essays for college, the admissions committee is looking at the value, or not value, I would say the content, right? The richness of that experience. So just saying I was a part of this group and I did this is not good enough. What did you learn from that group? Or what did you learn from that experience? How did that shape your thought process or your way of looking at the world? And really kind of using the richness of that experience is important. So you can either, you don't always have to pick activities that align with the students' passions, or like that'll kind of pad their resume, but like pick something that is related to their passions. Community service, whether it's religious, political, involvement in groups, that's good too. Encourage students to, think about student government, even in school. And I think high school, they have SGA. And, there's kind of a similar structure in college too. If they're part of any honor societies, it's a great way for them to get involved. And it could be a camp in a subject of their area of interest. That's another great way. So I really liked this quote, without experience, it's hard for students to appreciate what type of career they'd like to have, because until then, it's all hypothetical, right? I've just read what engineers do. I've just read what actors or musicians do. But until they don't do that job or get some exposure to it in some way, they're not going to feel comfortable making a decision if this is what I want to study. When employers are hiring, yes, they look at the GPA, but that's not the only criteria. These are the different skills that you see on my screen: critical thinking, problem solving, oral and written communication skills, team working, collaboration, technology, leadership, professionalism or work ethic, very important, career management, and then intercultural fluency. So these are some of the things employers in the US are looking for when they're hiring students out of college. And so, which means that your child needs to be able to articulate how they have gained these skills. We see students just create a skills section on their resume and just list all of these. And then I always ask them, so how do you think you have, how do you think you got this skill? How are you going to show that to the recruiter? And so that's when we start talking about all the extracurriculars, right? All of these get experience type stuff, and they have a good way to connect it. So please try to make sure that your child gets a lot of outside of classroom experience. And I've shared some of those examples before. So you don't need to, you can show them like these are the options if anything interests you here, or if you had something in mind, let me know and I can look into that and we can see how you can be a part of that. Remember, it's very important that as students, especially in high school, are coming into college, you are empowering them to make their own decisions. Because once they are in college, a lot of what they do is protected by the FERPA law, which is the Family Education Rights Act, where your child is now 18 years of age. And so all the information, everything that's done in college is their personal information, which will not be shared with you. And so right now, it's very important for you to empower your child to be able to make those decisions for themselves. I will have parents calling me and saying, my child has no clue what they're doing. They're wasting my money. Can you please call them in to schedule an appointment? I cannot do that. Your child or even you cannot do that. I'm not, even if you try to schedule an appointment with a career counselor, they're not going to schedule it for you. They will show you resources of how your child can go online and schedule their own appointment. But this this time in high school is a great opportunity for you to help educate your students on how they can make their own decisions. So just some final comments, and I want to leave at least a few minutes for question and answers. It's important to realize that your child isn't you. So be on this journey together with them as your child is trying to answer questions about who they are, where I am going, and how will I get there. Their school studies open doors if you do well, but we also have children who don't do well, and that doesn't mean all doors are shut on your child. It just means that your child is taking a different path. Everyone's career path is different, and there is no right way to start a career. There might be, if you talk to your colleagues or you look at people around you, they may all have ended up in the same career as you, but all their paths have been so different. And so there is no one right way to do something. If your child thinks, you know, Mom, I just want to take time off after, let's say, college or before college to really think what I want to do. That's great. If they want to do that, try to be open and understanding, but at the same time say, okay, I support you with that, but let's try to look at what will you be doing in that time to explore your interests more. Let's see, tell me how I can support you. Let's go talk to a career counselor. Let's see, you know, what are some options we can consider? What can you be doing while you're taking that time to think? And so there are non-traditional ways that we as parents who are born and raised in India, followed the education system in India, we are not aware of it, or we just don't know. So I really want you to be open. I encourage you to kind of try out, you know, different ways that you may not have used in the past to support your child's career exploration process. Also, you know, having confidence to work towards your ideal career. If your child wants to major in English, look up, you know, sit down, research what are career opportunities for English majors. Some of the, you know, when your child is in exploring occupations, if we look at jobs outside of technology and medicine, there are so many opportunities, and they do not require you to have a certain major. Even if your child is on a pre-med track, no medical school says that your child needs to be a biology major. And I tell that to students all the time. You can pursue any major you want as long as you have the core classes. And so, you know, put together a plan for your child. If they want to pursue a major that is outside of science, which is in liberal arts, put together a plan. You know, even if everybody else may think like, oh, you're so crazy, you know, what is their child doing? Your child, let's say they're interested in sports, they may not make it to NBA, but they may find a way to work within NBA or a similar sports field that they really enjoy working in. And I'm saying this from my own personal experience. When I picked psychology as a major back home, my parents were supportive, but I would get that look from a lot of other people, why are you studying this? But today, when I am in the job that I love, every day going to work, I am so excited. It's my passion. And even on my LinkedIn profile, I've said, it's not my job, it's my passion. So with that, I will end this presentation. I have some references here that I used to kind of gather the information for today. And this is my contact information. I recently launched my private practice. And so I don't have a website or anything yet, but feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions regarding today's presentation. And I will stop Vinay at this point, and if there are any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Priyanka. That was great and very helpful webinar. I'm sure people have a lot of lot of information that they can use now to explore about their children's interests and what they can pursue. There are several questions, so I'll bring them to your attention so that you can give the answers for them. So I think we already answered the first two questions, right? So the third question there is, my high schooler, 10th now, doesn't have a projection of his career path. It keeps changing for him every now and then, doesn't show a standard interest on something. How do I know what he chooses is right for him or not? Should we allow him to choose his own and guide him out?
So this pattern is very common, as I said, amongst high schoolers and even among college-going students. And so how should we guide them is, again, going back to what we looked at earlier, interest, personalities, values. Every time any child is confused, go back to start. That will be your starting point. Hey, why don't you try? I learned about this assessment today. It's called My Next Move. Here's the link to it. Why don't you try and take the assessment and answer the questions honestly? It's kind of going to help you narrow down your interests and look at some careers that align with your interest. And then, if you need more help to explore those after that, I'll be happy to help you. Maybe talk to someone who works in that field, or we can go shadow someone.
Yep, thank you. That was great. And so the next question is there a way to encourage your middle school child who is enterprising?
Yes, absolutely. So a child who is in middle school and has those enterprising skills, encourage, show them information about, here, look, this is what businessmen do. Maybe if there is an opportunity for them to shadow someone, or even summer, like just go and say, hey, why don't you hang out with this friend and help them with filing in their office. So it can just be like they're putting papers in the file, putting it in the drawer. Kids are like sponges. They're absorbing everything they're seeing and looking around them. So if a child has expressed interest in enterprising, leading, taking initiative, that's where you can even encourage them. Hey, in your school, is there like a club that you can join where people with similar interests are there? Or do you want to maybe join the student government organization, like I said? Or if there is like, school is always sending like things like, we need volunteers for this and that. So encourage your child to participate in those activities, because then they know that, forming your own business is not that easy. So like, for example, when I was forming my own business, my middle schooler got so excited and he's like, wow, is it going to be $1 million business? And what are we doing? And I'm like, no, we don't have any funds. We're starting from zero. So how do you think, the first thing we need to do is we need to come up with a name. And the logo actually that you see here was created by my 5th grader at that time. Wow. And he was so excited. I said, I love this logo. I'm going to use it. It's so special that you created it for me. So, I could have easily gone somewhere and paid someone to create this logo. But now for him, the excitement that, oh my God, I created your logo. And he's like, Mama, when are we going to get your website started? So these are little ways you can get kids involved, even in your own work.
Nice. Thank you, Priyanka. That was very insightful. Surya agrees that the government jobs are underexplored segment by Indian Americans. And Vishal has a question. Can you please share? Oh, I think we were sharing screen. Sukrawat says, will this record be shared? I think I answered that already. Yeah, the recording will be shared with all the attendees by tomorrow or day after. Does NSF have any plans providing career counseling services to members in future? I mean, I guess like we could have webinars like these, which give out information, and then probably you can then explore the services from Priyanka's new firm. Will there be a, okay. This is completely 180-degree change from how I chose my career back in India. Started from a high-paying job, doing medicine, then build skills needed to land. I guess that's an opinion. That's a view that Surya is expressing. Yeah, that is, I think, that's all how we chose our careers. Basically, we are, you can either go into medicine or like engineering, I think, in India.
Well, and at this point, when I also want to share that in India, we made our career choices based on our abilities. So I'm good at math, so I'm going to go into engineering. I'm good at science, I'm going to go into medicine. But in the US, career choices are made based on interests. So you may be good at math, but are you interested in math? That's the question.
Right. Thank you. Like you said, interests, personalities, and are internship opportunities available for high school students? How does a high schooler go about looking for internship opportunities? Someone asks.
Yes, there are some high school internship opportunities available for high schoolers. So a couple of things you can do. These might mainly be during summer, I'm thinking, but even during, the school year, there is a reason why some of the high schools end earlier during the day because a lot of high schoolers work. And so you can find out maybe not a formal internship, but an opportunity. It can be like a part-time job or a volunteering opportunity where your child is working with a local small business, kind of, supporting with what they need, and that aligns with your child's passions. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way would be to, I always just Google like internships for high schoolers and then kind of go more deeper into exploring it. I know a lot of small startup firms, whether it's like technical or non-technical, they will provide shadowing and part-time opportunities for high schoolers. So your high schooler needs to start with having a resume. And once they have a resume, they can start with reaching out to people. So if they're just looking for any part-time job, they can start with local stores and then kind of, build their skill set, and then just exposing like your child to, let's say, they're working, part-time sales somewhere. That in itself, you will see how much your child is learning and how much they're changing as an individual. Because, now is the time to kind of let them rise, let them fly on their own. And so you're still there. If they fall, you're going to catch them, but you can't hold them and fly with them. Let them fly on their own. And as I said, you can look at these different local opportunities to start with, and then explore more things like formal internship programs. But yes, there are programs for high school students.
Thank you, Priyanka. What type of government jobs are relevant for someone in game design magnet program path? How to explore more on the government sectors? Do we need to be a US green card holders or citizens in order to get a government sector job?
So for government jobs, there is a website specifically for government jobs. It's called usajobs.com. And then there are, other specific areas within the government. So let's say if you want to work for the military, if you want to, and when I say military, people immediately think like on the battlefield. That's not what it is. Even within the military, you can be working in the technical side, you could be working in the HR side, you could be working in administration, different areas. So with the skill set, like let's say if somebody is interested in game development, right? Maybe with military simulation softwares, they can work within areas within that. Now, in order to work for any government job, you have to be a US citizen. Green card holders cannot work within any government jobs. You have to be a US citizen.
Great, thank you for the detailed answer. How early a parent can approach a career counselor, child's elementary, middle, high school age?
So I would say elementary school parents need to relax and let their child be a child. That's the time. I mean, imagine if when you were in fourth grade and your parents were like, hey, here, I want you to look at this and study this, and I want you to take this test. And I mean, fourth grade, if you think about us in India, we were like out playing. And so really let elementary kid parents just hands off, let them enjoy their life. Even middle schoolers, I would say, it's just time for you to kind of bring up these conversations and start talking to them. High schoolers, I would say, is where you can get down to work with them and say, hey, let's look at, what you're interested in. Let's try to start narrowing down some options. So when we're starting to apply for colleges, we can look at colleges based on what you're interested in, right? We can look at colleges that maybe have a nice program for what you're interested in. And so I would say high school parents definitely can be more hands-on in supporting and, like I say, sit down and listen to your child first. Ask them, what have they thought about? There are always two scenarios, right? Students are either confused because they don't know how to pick one thing, or they completely are blank and they don't know what to do. So either way, starting with the assessments is a good point, because then it's going to help them narrow down.
Thank you. I think the next question also was the same. What was the best age to start curriculum? Okay. Is that service a one-time or an ongoing regular engagement? It might be, I think, with one of the suggestions probably you had earlier in your presentation about like maybe your services.
Okay, yeah, so I have launched my practice, and right now I don't have a formal structure, but some of the students I've worked with them for 1 hour, like for 1 hour I charge them $100. But I'm still like, in the process of like creating packages and stuff. But for right now, it's like for a 1 hour meeting, it's $100, and then
Okay.
can look.
Thank you. Can these slides be shared? Not sure.
Oh, and Vinay, can I also say something else?
Yeah.
Your students' high school counselor, I know they're very, very busy and they may not be that helpful, but start with the resources that are free to you. That's what I would encourage. Start with your child's high school counselor. Sometimes, if your child will approach the high school counselor saying, hey, I need help looking for internships in this area. Do you have any resources to share? Or, hey, when you have a chance, can you look at my resume? So counselors and then even teachers in high school are very helpful. Your child can also, kind of talk to their peers or other students who may have jobs. So encourage them to talk to them. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of free resources even within your community. I know sometimes the local libraries do events like that. So look within your community as well.
Great. All these are great suggestions. Thank you, Ben. Will the presentation be available? Yes. Oh, no. I mean, that was the other question, I think. So the slides and presentation, will that be shared? I'm not sure Priyanka can answer.
The slides and presentations?
I think like we are doing we are recording the session anyway, so we'll share that. So
yeah.
That should be enough, right? How can we know internships or summer camps for middle schoolers? Where can we find these opportunities? I think this was kind of answered already in the previous internship question. For college research, is there a resource you would recommend, like the US News, Compass, Princeton book, etc.?
There are many resources out there. US News is good, it's very comprehensive. But remember, the college ratings are not just based on, one criteria. So my suggestion would be, when you are working with your child to pick a college, as I said, start with what they're interested in, then kind of look at, your budget and what, what the student wants to study. So just because we have big name colleges and, undergrad, it doesn't matter where your undergraduate degree really is from. As long as, you're staying involved, as long as you're getting experience, you can be a part of a large organization, or wherever you want to be, in spite of being from a transfer in from a local community college into a university, and you can still make it big. So I know our community places a lot of emphasis on big name colleges for undergrad, but I strongly recommend be more practical, be more realistic, because it doesn't matter what college your child majors in or gets their degree from, as long as they are staying involved in college, as long as they are able to articulate or speak well about their experiences, whether it's verbal or written, when they're applying for jobs and seeking opportunities for growth. So that's what's really the core. Even if your child studies in a very big school, but all they have been doing is just focusing on their schoolwork, it doesn't, it's not going to help them. So no matter which college your child goes to, encourage them to stay involved, encourage them to find ways to learn more about themselves or about the people around them. That is what's very, very important.
Thank you. Will there be any negative impact on a child in ESE like 504 IEP programs in college or career in the future? If so, what are the disadvantages?
So I'm not very familiar with that. Did you say ESL or ESE?
It says ESE here, like 504 IEP programs. Geeta, if you could again
Oh, I
type.
think I understood. Individualized education plan. Okay, yes.
Oh,
So there are opportunities for a lot of all types of people in the US, and that's one more really big advantage of being here, is that irrespective of your ability to do something, there is an opportunity for you to be independent and earn your own money. And so every university will have what we call as a center for student with different abilities. And so you can always reach out to them for specific accommodations, whether you need them for testing and things like that. And then I know at University of Houston Career Services Office, we work with students who have different abilities, and there are opportunities again within the government to help students who have different abilities. So yes.
thank you. I think Geeta confirmed that. Yeah, ESE is Exceptional Student Education and Individualized Education Plan. Ritvik asked, how do you develop social skills in the time of COVID pandemic? She was extrovert, but since last 8 months of online learning has made her introvert.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Her child was an extrovert, but since the last 18 months of online learning, it has made her an introvert. So because of the COVID pandemic, you don't interact much with others. So how do you develop social skills in the time of COVID pandemic?
So again, I would say, like I said, the basic foundation of your personality is already laid between birth to age 8. So your personalities, your interests will change, your values will change, but personality pretty much stays stable. And I think it's too early to say, my child is an introvert or an extrovert, because children have a mind of their own. Some days they'll be very excited, some days they don't want to do that thing that excited them the last time. So I would just say, talk to your child, because sometimes when children are drawn in, there can be many other reasons, right? We as parents may assume that it's this or it's that. But again, sit down and listen to your child. Maybe ask them, hey, do you want to do something fun? Or, is there something we can do to maybe go talk to other friends? Or how about your friends are volunteering for this, let's go and volunteer at the food bank. So try to get them involved, or things that they were interested in, try to talk to them about doing those things more or doing something different. But I would also say, just be mindful at the same time, or try to watch for things that may also be clinical or psychological reasons, because sometimes, being in the home with the parents, there can be other issues that our kids may be going through that we may have turned a complete blind eye to. So again, my core message is going to be the same. Just sit down, listen to your child. When I say talk to your child, I mean more so listen. Ask more open-ended questions, not like questions that end with a yes or no. And if you attended the Bridging the Generation Gap webinars, they were so amazing. In fact, this was the inspiration for me that came out of that. Like, let me help parents communicate more with their child about their career choices. So sit down and really listen to your child. Ask them if there is something that is bothering them, and maybe even share. I noticed that, during this virtual schooling, you've been very quiet. Can I do something to help you? So just be more a good listener.
I think there's a comment by Surya saying that's quite impressive. I think that's about your child helping you with the logo.
Thank you.
And can you please share the website you're referring? I think all the website links are there in the presentation. So when we share the recording, then probably they can get from that.
Yeah, and then if you want, I can also email you the slides. I don't know if there is a way for you to just share
if
the slides
you
too.
email the slides, then probably I could include that in the follow-up email.
Yeah, I'll email you the slides.
Okay, thank you. How do we get hold of internships and summer jobs? I think this probably Priyanka already answered previously. My child is interested in tons of activities at high school level and seldom finds time to focus on one thing. Is it better to be jack of all trades than master of none?
So they are in the phase of their life right now where they're not trying to be a master. Think about your own self when you were in college. You were trying to do different things, even though you were enrolled in a engineering college, right? So I would say right now in high school, if they are expressing, like if they are focused on something, let them do that. That's fine. But also expect that, they may turn around and say, oh, I also want to look into this, which is okay. So just being okay with your child flip-flopping because they are exploring, and right now is, I would say, let them explore, because only with this they're going to be able to narrow down further. The more information they get, the more experiences, the immersive experiences as we call them, they get, the more they're going to start feeling comfortable making a choice later on to narrow down. Something I've experienced a lot is a lot of kids don't get opportunities to explore at the beginning when they're in middle school or high school or even at the beginning of college, and they narrow or force themselves down to pick a major. And then later on, when they're in their senior year, they come to me and say, hey, I'm graduating, but I need help finding a job that has nothing to do with my major, because that's not something that excites me. So really, this is the time to explore. So don't try to push them too much to one particular thing. Maybe you can help them narrow down to top 3 ideas. So if your child is moving in 10 different directions, let's say, hey, instead of these 10 things, can we pick top 3 things? That might be a better approach.
Thank you. If the high schooler is not 16 years yet, is there an opportunity to do summer jobs?
That might be tricky now with the age restrictions. But if they can always volunteer with, they don't always have to be in a work setting. Maybe they can volunteer in a nonprofit type of a setting or a community setting. They can also, and then, you know, when I say volunteer, you need to make sure that they're not volunteering Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, because then you're putting them to work. Volunteering means maybe a few hours during the week, or even shadowing someone. Like I said, if you have your own business, or if you know somebody who the child may be interested in observing, those might be options for them. Because remember, you know, they can still put this information on their resume, which will count. And at the same time, they're also getting to be involved and experience, you know, what the world of work looks like. And do they really think what that job is? Is it really what they think it is?
Thank you. What about when my middle schooler is trying various extracurriculars like music instruments, but hasn't been able to make up their mind about one yet, when applicants to high school typically like to see consistent pursuit of an interest? I think you kind of answered it in the previous question from Laya, right? My child is interested in terms of activities. So I think there's several more questions. So let me. How does high schoolers go about searching for community service? What are the best ways to find this?
Mm-hmm. So there is, I'm very familiar with local Houston resources, but if you search like volunteer opportunities within your city or community where you live, I know we have something called as the for Houston, we have like Get Involved and those type of things. So locally, you can search for volunteer opportunities. You can also search up nonprofit organizations. There is this website called, okay, I can't recall it right now, I'm sorry, but that's where you can find volunteering. You can just search this. Yeah, so I'll have to look that up more, but pretty much, you know, you can find local opportunities like here, you know, volunteer opportunities and things like that.
And I think your school also provides you several avenues for participating in clubs where you can volunteer, right?
Yeah.
Scouts and Paw Scouts and
Exactly.
marching
So
band.
reach out, you know, school counselors and even school teachers, as I said, are very helpful. We just never reach out to them requesting specific information. They're always very busy, but you know, if you have like, okay, these are the 3 things my child would like to get involved in. Do you have any resources you can share? And it can even be like a social studies teacher. So school is a great resource for sure.
And you can volunteer with your local library as well. And sometimes high schoolers also volunteer at a nearby hospital, shadowing somebody. And also, you can always volunteer for North South. So just send us an email and we'll be glad to. Because you know there is something called YCNS program. So that North South has now partnered with if you haven't seen that presentation, we'll send you the link as well. So with the Ashoka Foundation, the North South has partnered with, and then so even middle schoolers and elementary school children also are participating to raise funds. And I think the last in the pandemic. Um, because some schools do not have access to resources. The raised funds were used to distribute like laptops so that people can actually connect and continue their education. So please do drop an email, and if you go to northsouth.org, there is a link for volunteers. You can sign up there.
I'll stop sharing my screen.
Do you recommend Mayor Briggs assessment for your middle school and high school kids to determine personality type, or are they going too young for that? I think you answered that already. I think high schooler probably is a
Yeah,
more.
middle schoolers, it's too young. You can just, the information I shared was more for you as parents, just to know, how you can observe your child. And then I would say 8th or 9th grade might be a good time for them to, just try out and see, like take a quick assessment to see where they lie.
Cool.
But
Thank
again,
you.
it's not like this is the final thing, but at least it helps you narrow down.
This is so refreshing to hear and a very important conversation for all of us parents to have. Thank you, Priyanka. Okay, thank you. Surya had shared a link, www.governmentjobs.com. Okay, thank you. Could you please provide sources for middle school internships? I think that was already discussed. I've seen that there are local city and county jobs and green card holders are eligible. I guess there is different levels of security restrictions, I think. So some probably might allow some kind of jobs to be available for green card holders, but I think if there is more security access needed, I think then it's restricted to citizens, I think. Any advice for parents on H1 visa? What are college admission constraints for such kids? I don't think there's any constraints on the admission itself, right?
Well, I don't think for admissions, yeah.
Okay.
Unless if you don't have a residency, I guess then they're considered as, or, if they're not, yeah, they'll be considered international students.
I see.
And a lot of universities, especially the private ones, will have more opportunities for international students just because they pay more tuition. So, I also want you all to keep that in mind, that just because my child was not accepted into this big university doesn't mean that your child is any less. It just sometimes it's all a game of numbers at the end of the day.
Thank you. And any public speaking or leadership programs? So I think this is a continuation of the internship question. So
yes, so there is, all of you may be familiar, I'm not sure, it's called Toastmasters Club. And every university has a chapter of the Toastmasters Club. That's pretty much to help students with their communication skills. So presentation skills, group communication skills, and things like that. Also, I would say, so that's a great club to join, but then if your child is getting out of their comfort zone, like, encouraging them to join, or really getting outside of the classroom and outside of the house in itself is automatically going to help build their communication skills. The more they just stay in their little circle, their communication is going to stay limited. So the more they go outside of classroom and outside of house, they're going to start building those communication skills.
Thank you. What's the difference between educational consultant versus career counseling?
It's very vague.
Yeah, it's very vague.
I think
one
so.
is about
Education.
College admissions.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Educational might be more focused on college admissions, and well, career counselors. So basically, we help with students right from choosing their major all the way to negotiating salary. So it's very broad in that spectrum, and even if they're interested in going to grad school, we help them with graduate school application. So educational consultants, I think, focus pretty much only on the admission process.
Thank you. My son's passion is in animation, but we don't see colleges offering it as a minor. And few colleges offer as a major. Does animation need coding background? Does he need to be very good with art? If so, what kind of art?
So animation, it has different types of skill sets. So if you look at the websites I showed earlier, ONET or Occupational Outlook Handbook, you'll see that animation does, require like creativity, some basic technical skills. There is also a software that it's called Maya, which a lot of like Disney and other organizations use. And so anybody who works in animation does not need to have a completely technical background. You can have a background in digital media or art or graphic design, or even, something in like anything in liberal arts. And so it's just, again, helping your child kind of, maybe they can right now read more about it. Maybe they can try to learn some of those animation softwares. And there might not be a major that specifically says like, this is for animation. So going back to the myths that I shared, a major cannot be connected to a career. Encourage your child to major in something that they feel connected to, that they feel passionate about. Because again, we are in the US where majors are not connected to careers. I challenge you to look at the career paths of your bosses, or people who are in leadership roles, and to see where they started, what was their college major. For those who studied here in the US, many times there is not a direct link. So focus on what the child is interested in studying, and then we have something that we call as in career counseling theory, it's called planned happenstance. That means you plan for things, and then things will happen along the way that will help you and your child realize, oh yeah, this is something that is so interesting. Maybe let me start along this path, right? A child can major in psychology and end up being a forensic psychologist and working for the FBI, right? So there are so many different paths. So I would say, see what your child is interested in studying as a college major. And then from there, you can start finding, once they're in college, like game development or animation internships. There is a whole professional association called National Game Developers Association or something like that. Look on their website for more resources. So start with small steps instead of looking all the way out as a job and a title. Because in 4 years, we don't know what types of jobs are going to come out in the market.
Thank you. I think this sort of answers the question about how to work with high school child who doesn't prefer to involve in such career-related discussions, but is hardworking, organized, and is doing very good at school. So I think this sort of answers that. There's one more, I think, related question. If a
Just
child
real
is
quick for that, I would also say have the child just for fun to take the career assessment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If a child is introverted and does not want to make a change with their personality, with parents, teachers' suggestion to speak up, what are the other things we can do to help the child? I think this is related as well.
Okay, so I look at this as an educational moment for us immigrant parents. So personality is not something you can change or force somebody. Like if you feel comfortable, let's say being around people, but if I tell you, hey, please don't talk to people, I just want you to sit here and enjoy this calmness, right? It's not, you're not gonna like it. And so one way, again, to help kids, like encourage them to do something, is to show them there is so much out there in the world. And so if you can share with them, hey, I found out about this really cool website where you can take your interest assessment and see what careers match up to it. If you're interested, here, take a look at this. Or is there something you're interested in? Talk to me, tell me, I want to help you, right? And I think not just saying that, but even putting that in your behavior and showing that in your behavior is also very important. Students, when they are at home, we are following our Indian collectivist society approach, right? Where we all make decisions together as a family. We're all involved in each other's business as a family. When they are in school all day, they are a part of the American culture, which is individualistic. So if 8 hours of their day they're spending their time in a culture which is telling them, you need to make the decision, you need to think, and then when they come home, we're saying, hey, come, let's together think, we're sending conflicting messages. So really telling your child, hey, I really want to understand, I didn't go to high school. Like I tell my son, I didn't go to middle school here. How does it feel like? Can you tell me more about, what you do? And really wanting to learn more from them. And somebody last week, or when we had the chat about bridging generation gap, I loved what that girl said. She said, my parents were always in the learner mode. And even though they knew, they would always pretend and still say, hey, can you tell me how this works here in the US? Or can you tell me what you learned? Because then you are putting yourself in a place where you want to be the listener. So try to listen more and not be that person where, hey, I know all these things and I'm telling you, so you should follow it. I'm speaking from my experience, but we forget that our experience is limited too. What I have experienced as a parent or as an individual growing up in India and immigrating here, you may not have experienced the same thing. So please, please try and be more listeners. Try to learn from your kids so that you can really understand where they're coming from.
That's great insight. Thank you. I think Geeta confirmed that ESC, the definition of ESC and IEP, and she says thank you so much. So my understanding is that being in IEP or ESC doesn't have negative impact on a child's college or career, right? So I think.
No.
Great. Thank you.
I mean, yes, there will be challenges, just different types of challenges, but there won't be a negative impact.
Great, thank you. Will IB programs help with college admissions?
Which programs?
IB, I think International Baccalaureate. I think.
I don't have a lot of information on that, so I don't, I don't feel comfortable commenting.
Okay.
But if you look at just the overall college application process, having some AP courses. I think what college applications also look at is, as I said, the richness of your application. So not just that you have checked all the boxes, but are you somebody who, who has that leadership skills, or are you somebody who's going to add more value to, the college student body? How are you going to impact and impact the college? So I think they look at those things too.
Okay, thank you. Ritvik says, thank you for the great advice. How do we expose elementary students to different things, risking putting them in too many classes? How long do they have to be in a class, etc., to realize it's not for them?
So I would say classes is not the only way, right, for them to learn. If somebody, you can find out other fun, creative ways, which could also involve maybe you spending more time sitting down with them and maybe doing a science experiment, or saying, hey, like at home, I know for I have a 7-year-old and I know she's very good at organizing. So I'll tell her, hey, this looks messy. Can you help me organize this? And then she will say, yeah, I think we should put this here and put that here. And then I'm like, let's try it and see. And sometimes even inside me, I feel like this is not the best way. I would have done it differently. But I'll say, oh yeah, that's a great suggestion. Let's keep things this way. So that's helping build their confidence in themselves too, right? Or we have somebody visiting us and they say, hey, can you help us connect to your Wi-Fi? I'll tell my son, hey, can you just help them to connect to our Wi-Fi? And he'll be like, sure. And he'll take their phone and, do what he loves doing. And so these are different ways you can, little things, but they make a big difference, right? Or going on walks with your child and saying, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's try to find something. Or did you notice this tree? So For elementary school kids, everything doesn't have to be, you don't have to pay for all types of experiences. If they like dancing, just turn on music and dance with them, right? And then ask them. So I asked my daughter, I said, you're so good at dancing, I think you should get some training. What type of dance are you interested in? Like, are you interested in ballet or Kathak? And so she'll say ballet. So I'll say great. And then I looked up and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is what ballet is and this is what Kathak is. And I showed her videos and she's like, Mama, I've already tried ballet. I want to try Kathak. So I'm like, okay, let's try Kathak. So show them videos, show them, do things with them to help them explore, because just going to classes and paying for classes is not the best way that they will be involved, or, for them to even understand what they like.
I see. Thank you. And then I guess once you know what they like, probably then you can enroll them in classes.
Exactly. Yeah. And teaching them persistence is also important. Like, if they start something and then the next week they say, oh, I don't want to do it, then that's when you also have the conversation about, hey, look, you had to commit to something. So let's you and me together decide a time, like how much time do you want to know whether you really like this or not. So then you're kind of involving them in the decision making too. So is it 1 month or, 3 months, whatever that looks like.
Right, thank you. Sampreet Rao says, thank you, we'll check on both the responses, I guess, from earlier. Savita had asked for the link for the NSF volunteering thing, so I had shared that in there. If you can all look at that. And also, Bindu had asked, can you share the details of YCNS program? I had shared that link as well, if you can look at the question panel. YCNS, I can quickly share here maybe, just for a second. Which one is being shared now? Oh, it is sharing this. Okay. So hope you can all see this screen. So YCNS stands for Young Change Makers of North South. So Young Change Makers is an initiative of Ashoka Foundation, if you have heard of that. So you can participate in this Young Change Makers of North South if you can send an email to the YCNS team. And you can see the projects that they have done: Devices for Education, Operation Breathe. And then this is the team of the middle schoolers and high schoolers who have participated. So you can have your child enroll in the YCNS program and participate in that. So you can find the link in the question panel. Then my child loves to bake and cook. What can I do to explore further?
So that's great. If they are interested in baking and cooking, depending on where they are, if they're in middle school, if they're in elementary school, you can just let them continue to do it. They can bake and cook for family and friends, and they just love that appreciation that they get. If they want to participate in like local bake sales and shows and things like that for kids, encourage them to do that. If they're in middle school or high school, I would say help them, kind of look at what are some career paths for people who are interested in the culinary field. I know at University of Houston, we actually have a whole college called Hotel and Restaurant Management College, and our students come from all over the world, and they end up in amazing like big hotels around the nation and the world. So even within the hotel and restaurant industry is very big. And again, we're talking about the US, so there is we need to open our mindsets to more areas within hotel and restaurant rather than just thinking, oh, they come and serve food. So yeah, that's a great hobby or passion to explore further.
Thank you. And any advice or website that you can refer for students who want to pursue college level courses in high schools based on their choice of major or career path? I think that local counselor should when school counselors?
Well, yeah, especially when it comes to that, but I know students can take classes within community colleges, local community colleges, and those count towards high school as well. I mean, towards college. So that can be an option.
Thank you. And somebody, so I think Bindu had asked, was the talk on the generational gap recorded? Where can I find them? So I just replied, you can, yes, it was recorded. If you email webinars@northsouth.org, we can share that with you.
There were two parts to it, and they were both amazing. I mean, I think as a first generation immigrant parent, it helped me learn so much about how I can communicate with my child.
It was very nice. I mean, like, yeah, they provided so much of insight into how we think and how the second generation thinks. If my child is introvert, I think, yeah, I think I already asked this question. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for your time. It's very useful. Chandana said. And does having low scores on AP courses downgrade your GPA scores, and does it affect your college admissions?
So GPA, as I said, is one criteria considered for college admissions. And again, as I said, be realistic. So if your GPA is low, when you're researching colleges, look at colleges where, you know, that's not the cutoff GPA is lower than your own GPA. So, you know, other things count, like your extracurricular activities, your essay, and your SAT scores and things like that. But a low GPA, if you think bigger picture, a low GPA in high school is not going to affect what you're going to be doing in your life. So again, you know, we need to come out of that mindset that we have where, oh, if I don't do well in school, that means I'm not going to do well in life. I always tell my kids here that it's okay if you got a low grade. You know, I got low grades all the time, but I think I'm successful today as a professional and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So low grades shouldn't be limiting you in what you want to do in your life.
Great, thank you. Thanks, tried most of the suggestions Indu had said. I think about I guess the volunteering opportunities. I think. What happens when the overall classroom performance and score in all 4 grading period is good and scores very low, say 1 in final AP exams? Does it impact the high school transcript?
That's a very high school specific question.
Okay.
I can't comment on that.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Thank you for patiently answering all the questions, and that was very insightful information that you have provided. And I think they can reach you for any further questions, right? And like you had the page where like the email and the phone number. So
yes, I'll share that again just to make sure.
Yeah, so if you have any further questions, you can reach out to Priyanka using that email, or reach out to the phone number as well. Okay, thank you all, and thank you, Priyanka, for all your great help today.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.